Sorry about that. Let me start over because I had my camera on, or sorry, my microphone on mute. So yeah, welcome to Makeover Monday, week 21. 2021, week 12. Watch me viz. We're looking at the cereal industry, and so I was mentioning how you can see through the years, you can see the different. Hopefully, it's back now. Okay. All right. Sorry about that, folks. All right. I put it on mute so you couldn't hear me actually eating some Pringles, but then I forgot to turn it back on. So sorry about that. So yeah, so the original chart, what I was saying is I like this vertical line and the little circle that go across the visualization. What it doesn't need is the day in the kind of little date in the tooltip because it's just year and month anyway. I do like the big number for the sales, etc. So the problem though is when you get to the months that they're considering kind of like the pandemic months, you'll see there's no tooltip. So I'm not quite sure why that would be, but we lose the scope of the tooltip for some reason. Wait a minute. So there it is now. But it's if I scroll over here, I don't see it. So that's kind of weird. Okay, and what I was looking at here was that, yeah, so since 1959, the Bureau of Economic Analysis has been tracking spending on cereal, which I think is super interesting. Like, why would they track cereal? Before 2020, the biggest 1 month percent increase in cereal consumption was 5.6% in July 1973, and that's when I was born, so clearly it was to celebrate my birthday. And in March, last March, so that'd be March 2020, it was 26.9%. So, but it also encompasses things like pasta, rice, and flour, as well as things like Cheerios. So one thing worth looking into is maybe to look at this month-over-month increase and kind of see what that looks like, maybe up until March of 2020, so that things don't look too crazy. So let's go ahead and look at the data. So I've already gone ahead and connected to it, but we can see we have different categories and subcategories. I built these based on the data that was available in the data set that I was able to download from the Bureau of Economic Analysis. So that's what the categories and subcategories are. So it should be a lot like Superstore for those of you that like Superstore. And it just has the data by month and then millions of dollars. Okay, so super simple. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just drag month to the columns, and let me just pick continuous months. And let's just look at the millions of dollars. Now this is right now looking at all products, and we can see that there's a big spike here in March 2020, not particularly surprising. We also have one here in December of 1999, so I wonder why there was a big spike in December 1999. Let's see, consumer spending increase, December 1999. I'm going to see if there's maybe any particular reason. Home sales, consumer trends. Okay, consumer trends. Consumer spending, USA. Okay, here we go. So let's see if there's any particular reason for this. Housing, but this isn't looking at housing, so spending on apparels and services. Okay, but that doesn't really tell us anything. Okay, we could look into that more, but I just find that interesting that we see that spike there. It looks like we've got a little hump here as well. And nothing else particularly stands out there. Now I could break it down by category, and we can see they all have that same spike. So yeah, March 2020 is a huge increase in every single category, some more than others, but that's also because I'm looking at the total spending on each of these categories. If I want to look at it by subcategory, I know this is going to look terrible with all the colors, but we can see that bakery products is the highest, then beef. Let's see, so what is second here? So second would be mineral waters, yeah, which would make sense, right? So people are we're buying bottled water, and stuff for, because basically they were panic buying bakery products. So this is probably maybe long. I wonder if this encompasses maybe like, this is probably just breads, people buying tons of bread. So, whenever there's a big winter storm, Americans tend to like to buy bread and water and beer. And there we go. So we've got beer. Not particularly surprising. I wonder if, so spirits, that's not as high, and wine. Okay, so not particularly surprising that these are the three that Americans like to buy the most. And then we've got cereals. Looks like it's ranked kind of down a bit farther, and so on. Okay, but I think I'm going to maybe look at each of these individually. So I'm going to just build a quick, let me just put subcategory on the rows, and I'm going to just look at them all as little spark lines. So maybe I'll change the aggregation to quarter. And I can see I've got this big drop in 2021. That's because there's only 1 month worth of data. So I'm actually going to exclude that data from the data source. So I'm going to edit my data source filters, and I'm going to go down to January 2021 and exclude that. Hit OK. All right, so that looks a bit better. Maybe we even look at it by year. And I think the data, let me go back real quick. So the quarter Q1, let me go back to the month. Just want to make sure that the first year has all the data as well. So January, yep. Okay. So we could look at it by year if we wanted to. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, so the pattern doesn't really change, but what I was going to do is look at this kind of as like spark lines. So I'm going to put maybe my labels on the ends of the lines. It's going to look a bit crowded for now. Actually, let me undo that. What I'm trying to do is see if there's any sort of particular trend. So I'm going to edit my axis. And for sparkline, I'm going to uncheck include 0 and make them independent. So this means each one of them is going to fill up the space as best it can. And I'm going to see, can I fit these all in one window? Probably not. So, but they all look like they're pretty much following the same pattern. Maybe if I do it by category instead. So let me shrink this up a tiny bit more. Yes, everything follows the same pattern, so that's not particularly useful. Okay. So these be my spark lines. Oops, spark lines. Okay, what else could we do here? So let's maybe look at a heat map. So I'm going to put month, say year there, and then month, and let's compare the two. And if I make it fit entire view, it's going to look a bit messy at first. Maybe I'll just do fit width, and I'm going to put the millions of dollars on color. And this is looking at all products, so it's not particularly surprising that it goes, there's these big spikes, and we could see March of 2020 is the darkest blue because that is the spike that they were talking about. But it looks like it kind of stayed darker blue, so the spending didn't really decrease once after the pandemic. So let's go ahead. I'm going to verify that again. So. And let's look at millions of dollars. And we can see here that the spending kind of stayed much higher than it was before that. So you can see it was around 875, what's that? 874,000 millions. What's that? So is that 874 billion? No, trillion, I think. Well, I'm not quite sure. So let's see, I would multiply that by, yeah, anyway, I'd have to figure that out. So if I wanted to look at, so create calculated field times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So spending. It's not going to change the patterns of anything. I just want to get a sense for what the numbers are. Yeah, so 956 billion dollars were spent, but you can see it kind of stayed steady here, which is interesting. So if I look at go back to the heat map, we can see this here, and if we look at it maybe by category, and I'm going to maybe fit entire view now, we can see those increases. So nothing, so nothing particularly useful here either. So heat map. Okay, let me just quick look through. Okay. Right, so somebody was pointing out that this spike here is probably people just freaking out before Y2K. So I bet you that's what happened. People spent a lot of money there. That's a good point there. I could also then maybe make this I'm just going to do a quick table calc. That's the percent difference. This is going to give me like quarter over quarter. And if I go here, you can see December of 1999 was up 4% versus November of 1999, and then it dropped off a cliff the next month. So people were just kind of buying ahead. So October 1965, I wonder if that had something to do with maybe wasn't that kind of when the nuclear crisis was? It's July 1973, maybe that was the Vietnam War. So there could be lots of things. June of 1979, I think that was the gas shortage in the U.S. So June 1979 news. Let's see. No, July, sorry. Use USA. Okay. Historical events. What happened? Pop culture prices significant. Okay, here we go. I think. Let's see. So, first snowboard was invented. Oh, interesting. Okay, cost of living. Inflation was at a record high. What happened in 1979? Okay, ESPN. Oh, ESPN launched. Voyager. Anyway, there might be something. Oil prices increase around the world. Yeah, so that's the oil embargo or the oil crisis. So that would be that spike in 1979. And these, I would suspect these are probably war related, if I had to guess. So, and then, yeah, so this would be the Y2K. And then, of course, we have the COVID pandemic. So we can see it was up 23%, and then it completely dropped off the next month and then picked up again when people started running out of supplies. So kind of looks like a heartbeat, which is interesting. Maybe if I put that on the rows, let me, so everything pretty much has the same pattern. Let me put it on color and see what it looks like. They're probably all going to be basically overlaying each other. Yeah, so nothing particularly surprising there. All right, so this would be my month over month change. I could even make this quarters if I wanted to, but it's probably going to look the same. Yeah, it's a bit smoothed out, which is nice. So let's call this Q change. You still see the spike, but this needs to be, let's see, compute table across. Okay, but you can see we have some big spikes back here as well. So when we look at the data in whole, you can see there's still a big increase in 2020, but not as big as it would have been otherwise. Okay, so that's fine. That's pretty interesting. I kind of like the look of that one. All right, so let's then look at what are some other views we could build. So we looked at a heat map, spark lines. We could maybe look at maybe we'll look at a trellis chart. So to do that, I need to first create a custom date. I'm just going to call this months, and I'm going to use exact value. Actually, let me do quarters. I think I'll make this quarters instead. I can make it months. It doesn't really matter, but I'm just going to make it quarters for now. So I'm going to just kind of build out my view here. So that's my line chart. I want to have one for each subcategory. And then I need to kind of split this up into a series of rows and columns. And fortunately, I have these nice and handy. So I'm going to just going to save these two calculations. Okay. And then make them both discrete. and then columns goes on the columns, rows goes on the rows. I need to also put quarters onto detail, change the mark type to, or sorry, change quarters on the rows to an attribute, and now set up my table calcs. So edit table calc. I want to do it by subcategory and quarter, but subcategory needs to be first, and at the level subcategory, and then edit table calc. And I do have a video on how to build this if you want to look at it later. And then subcategory. Okay, so now we've got our nice little patterns here. And I could even put category on color because it, oops, that just means I need to change my table calc again. And then that was my columns. Okay, there we go. So this is just, I'm just splitting them up by category just to see if, I don't know, just because I felt like it. So cereals and bakery products, yep. Okay, so that's fine. So this is kind of our basic trellis chart. Maybe spread it out a bit. Again, doesn't tell me a whole lot, but let me try setting this up as a percent difference. And let me see, compute using paint across. Let me edit the table calc. And we need to do it for each category and subcategory at the level deepest relative to the previous. Okay, so now we're looking at the quarter over quarter change. But again, nothing, nothing particularly interesting sticking out there. Okay, what else could we do? So let's duplicate that again, and then let's maybe change it relative to the first. So now we can see this is looking at the percent change versus the first period, which would be 1959. I don't find this particularly helpful. Look at the increase in wine, isn't that interesting? I don't find it particularly helpful because, you know, because that's so long ago, in consumer spending has just gone up. It's not, comparing it to that like early period doesn't really tell me a whole heck of a lot. Okay, so I don't think any of these trellis charts are going to work for me. Let me just check and see if there's, okay, so, okay. So George, the table calculations for the rows and the columns, those just kind of like read the data and split it up. It's kind of hard to explain. In the video I have, I'll try to remember to post a link to it in the comments, or sorry, in the description of the video. If not, if you just search on my channel for trellis chart, you'll find that as well. Okay. So Mindy, your data download, I didn't realize that I cut off 2020 and 2021 from the data set. So if you re-download it, you can, oh, I see, somebody already answered you there. Okay, so could I do a bump chart to track rank of cereal over time? Sure. Okay, so let's look at a bump chart. I'm going to stick with quarters just because I think it's a bit easier to look at. And I'm going to put, let's see, I'm going to put spending, and we want to look at a bump chart. So let's put category on, let's put it on color. I know it's too many, but don't worry about it. And I'm going to, oh no, I want to do it as a, I want this to be a rank of spending. And I want to compute this using subcategory. So we get something like that. Edit my axis, and I'm going to reverse the axis so that the best is at the top. So let me save this as my rank, and we can see. Let me put the spending onto the tooltip as well. So when I look at cereal here, we can see that that's kind of where cereal ranks. Now, what I could do is, if I want that to really stand out, is I could probably, first off, I could move cereal to the front. So that means when I click on serial, it's always going to be in the front. And I could also maybe, let's see, so what I'm going to do is, you see I have serial highlighted now and the rest of these have kind of faded out. I can now assign those colors to the palette. So whenever I use subcategory as a color, let me see if it changes it anywhere else. So if I put subcategory on color here, let me change this to subcategory and put subcategory on color. Notice how serial is kind of highlighted there. But I'm going to actually make serial a pretty dark color. So why don't I just make it like a really rich black, and that should make it stand out on the bump chart. Yeah, so something like that. So what I could do now is I could label the ends of the lines, and I want to do it by the quarter. And I want to do it show mark labels, but I don't want to do it for all of them. So let's undo that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this one and let's see, mark label always show, and then mark label always show. Okay, so that just tells us those two, what those quarters are for serials. So, and I still have the colors for the other things in the background if I wanted to highlight them. Let me turn the highlighter back on, and you can see them. But yeah, so that'd be one way that you could then maybe compare them. The other option would be to make all of the other ones the same color. And if I were going to do that, what I would do is I would just create a calculated field that's just called serial. And I'm going to say subcategory equals serial. Serials. This is just going to give me a Boolean. So I'm going to put that onto color. And I need to edit my table calc. Oh wait, I did the wrong thing there. I still need subcategory to be there, but that needs to go on detail. And then serials is going to go on color. And I need to edit my table calc and make sure that serials is also accounted for. Okay, so now what I could do is, this is allow me to just have a single color or two colors. So I'm going to maybe do a black and maybe a gray or something like that. It doesn't really matter, but we can see how serial ranks amongst all of the others. The drawback here is I can't really, well, I could highlight some of the other ones. So if I show the highlighter for the subcategory, I can see like beef and veal and things, you know, whatever. I can, but I don't know, I'd probably have to choose different colors to make that work. But anyway, that's how you could do a bump chart. I don't know which particular version you like best. Let me maybe go back over here. Yeah. Either way, hopefully that answers your question for us. Let me know if it does not. Okay. And George, yes, I could create a set as well. It still is just going to return a true false, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so those are two bump chart options. Now that makes me think about another option. So a bump chart just shows you the rank, right? 1 through whatever, through 20. But what it doesn't tell us is what if it doesn't tell us the kind of the relative difference between them. So I don't know how, I know beef and veal is number 1, and let's see, bakery products are number 2, but I don't know what like the difference is between them as far as, you know, what's the percent difference. So that's where I'm just going to call this my bump chart. That's where something like a parallel coordinates chart might be better. So parallel coordinates. And I have a video for this as well that I'll also include a link to. So what I need to do is I'm just going to call parallel value. I need to take the sum of my spending, subtract from that the window min of the sum of spending, and then wrap all of that in brackets, and then divide that by, put my brackets in here again, the window max of the sum of spending minus the window min of the sum of spending. So this is going to return a percentage. So if it's the highest spending item, let's say the highest spend is 1,000. I know it's a lot higher than that, but this would say 1,000, and my minimum is going to basically be, let's say, 500. So it's 1,000 minus 500 is 500, and then the difference here would be 500 minus, or 1,000 minus 500. So let me say that again. So my maximum value, let's say this is the top value. It's whatever it was, beef and poultry. So let's say that had a value of 1,000. So, oops. Then I'd be subtracting from that the smallest value, like let's say that's 500. So then this would give me a denominator of 500. And then my maximum, again, is 1,000 because that's my highest spending item, minus the minimum of 500. So that would give me 500. So then 500 divided by 500 is 1, so 100%. So that's going to be, so I'm calculating kind of a relative change between the two. So let's look at how that works. So we got our parallel coordinates, and I want to look at it by subcategory. And I'm going to compute using subcategory. And now we can see here that beef and veal is always the top selling item, just like it was here in the bump chart. Now the second one, bakery products, you see it's hard to know the difference between these. It goes from 1 to, it just goes from 1 to 2, but we don't know the scale between them. Where the parallel coordinates, we can now see that bakery products are 80% account for 80% of the spending of the highest one, which is beef and veal. So let me maybe rename this as percent, let's see, versus max. I don't know. I probably would need to come up with a better name for that. So number format, let's make it a percentage. Okay. And we probably don't even need to go, yeah, we can leave it at, we probably could make it 0 decimal places. But yeah, so we can see that the spending for, so we can see again here, here's that other spike we talked about. So we've got waters, and we've got, so let's show the highlighter again. So we knew that the, let's see, beef and veal was one of the top ones. And then what did it get overtaken by? Bakery products. So bakery products then took over. And of course that always stays at the top because it's probably just breads. And then if we look at the waters, oops, wrong one. Let's look at, yeah, was that it? Yeah, mineral waters, there we go. So we can see that also is one of the highest, it typically is one of the highest values, so 100%. So let me just double check my table calc. So subcategory for every quarter, yep, okay. So that looks interesting, and I could put maybe my cereals onto color. And let me edit the table calc, and I need to check cereals, all right, and move that to the front. So we can see how far cereals is relative to all of the other categories, or relative to the maximum category. So let me change this to be a pretty light gray. It's probably going to be too light. Oh, that's not too bad. So yeah, so okay. So is it a min-max scaling? Scaling in terms of min-max? Yes, so EK, yes. That's exactly what I'm doing. You're just scaling it. But the way you could read this is, so if I look at cereal here in the first quarter of 1959, cereal is 15% of the sales of the maximum, which was beef and veal. So that's kind of, it's like a relative difference, or a scaled difference, as you said. Okay, so that's not bad. I kind of like that one. Let's see, what else could we do? Let's see, we've done a heat map. Let me look at some other ideas here. I always have a list of, oh, okay, we could maybe do, let's look at quarters again. And actually, let's look at months. Let's see what this looks like. So continuous months. And oops, didn't want that on there. No, let's do quarters. And let's look at each subcategory, and let's look at the the spending. I actually wonder what it would look like if I did percent versus max again here. So let's compute using subcategory. Okay, that's just another way to look at this same data, but it's doing it as a heat map instead. So let me make this discrete and fit entire view. So I'm going to make this maybe a range. Nope, I don't want to do that, but I want to have the center at 0.5. Okay, so the reason I set the center at 0.5 is because you're either in the top 50% or the lower 50%. So, and then I could even sort these by, what could I sort them by? Field, descending, millions of dollars. There we go. So something like that. It's interesting to see how beef and veal really dropped off and beer went the other way. Okay, and it looks like here in the 80s there was a big boom. That's probably when Coca-Cola was at its greatest, and you had the cola wars and things. Okay, so that's not too bad. What does it look like if I put a border on there? That is I think it makes the marks a bit hard to see. What if I change this to year? Okay, that's not too bad. So this would be, yeah, anyway, so this is our heat map parallel coordinates. I don't know what else to call it. I've never tried to make that before. We could also, let me go back then to look at quarters subcategory. So again, we have a mark for every quarter and subcategory. And we could look at the spending on color. And let's see, if we look at it as, maybe what I'll do, let me just try it as a diverging color palette for now. Let me try maybe this one. Okay, that's not particularly useful. So why don't I try, so let's see, let's call it difference from average. So I'm going to look at the sum of the spending. Let's see, minus the window average of the sum of spending. Grab that whole thing. And I'm going to divide that by the window average of the sum of spending. Now I'm doing it this way because I want to get the percent change, not the absolute change. It should hopefully make them, there we go. So now we can see the difference from the app. So this should be looking across the table. Yep. So if I look at the table calc, it's computing the average. It's computing the average independently for each mark. So let's change this color palette. Sorry, for each category. So if I do orange to aqua, let's see, what does that look like? Apply. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set these, let's see, so use the full color. Okay, so it's not going to, this is not set up as a diverging color palette, so let me pick one that is. Let's try, I don't think this one will work. 0, use full color range. Okay, that doesn't work. So maybe if I try color brewer, let's try that. Let's see what other ones I could have here. Just looking for a good diverging color palette. Yeah, but if I go back to the color brewer red blue. Okay, that's not particularly great. All right. Let's see, what else could I use here? So none of these are working really well. Let me try something. I need a good diverging color palette. What if I try sunrise, sunset? Nope, that doesn't work very well either. I do kind of like this orange to aqua, but I think the center is thrown off now. So let me go, maybe I'll try color brewer purple to green. Yeah, shoot, it doesn't really work, does it? I need something with like a white in the middle. Maybe this color brewer one. Let me change the baseline, the bottom color. Okay, so that's something. It shows us kind of the shading across the view. It just shows us basically things are more expensive, but doing the average across the view doesn't necessarily make sense either. So I'm not convinced that that's a good way to show the data. So this would be our what do we want to call this? This is a barcode chart. Okay, so we could instead maybe make this circles, and on the rows let's put maybe let's try the percent versus max. No, that's not going to do it. We need to put something on size. Okay, let's try that and get rid of. So this, I'm just trying to make like a circular timeline. So standard fit, but that's not working either. Okay, so that's not good. Okay. Okay, so what else can we do? Let's look at maybe creating some big numbers. So the spending for cereal is 15.8 trillion over the entire time period. So let's call it total spending. And yep, we just want to do some spending. I'm just trying to get the total spending overall. I'll show you why in a second. And then if I put cereal into context, I'll get back to that number. And then I want to get the latest, maybe the latest year. So let's create a calculated field. Let's start with latest year. So this would be max year of, what's our month field. So that's going to just give us our maximum year. Let's see, I want to make this a Boolean though. So we want to say year of month equals that. And then I'm going to create another calculated field now that is our latest year spending. And we want to look at if latest year, then spending. So that's going to be, and I'm going to wrap that in a LOD as well. I'm doing that because I'm going to probably use it for another calculation later. Okay, and if I put that here, and let's move that around. So total spending, latest year spending. How about we could also do let's see, we could do the prior year. So let's duplicate this, edit, and we want to say prior year. And I just want to do -1, and then duplicate. Prior year spending. Oh, shoot. Okay, so prior year spending, where am I here? And now if I put that there, okay, I can see that, and now I can calculate the difference year over year spending. And I want to do the sum of the latest year minus the sum of the prior year divided by the sum of the prior year. And that's okay, we'll do 0 decimals. So it's a 9% increase, so let me default properties, number format, make it 1 decimal. And I want to have a positive sign when it's positive and a negative sign when it's negative. Okay. All right, so spending went up that much. I could, let's see, so latest year spending. So what I could do then is maybe I'll build like a little spark line or something. So let's move measure names to detail. No, I don't want to do that. I want to have these 2 fields. Oops. I want both of those on text. Okay. And then year over year spending. So default properties, number format. And we can make it trillions. Let me see if I can remember how to do that. Custom. I think I need to add in 1 more comma and make it T. I think that's how I do it. So 0.7 trillion. What was my value? Serial. Latest year spending. Oh. So 1, 2, okay, so I should probably do it in billions. So okay, 2, 3, oh wait, not that one. Default properties, number format, and I'm going to go back, make it billions, and put a $sign as my prefix. Okay, so let's move that, and I'm going to make this nice and big. Right. Okay, and let's center and center. Okay. Actually, I want this to be in my title. So this is why I need them to be level of detail expressions, because if I want them to be in my title, they have to always just return a single number. So I'm going to move both of them to detail. And now I'm going to put my quarters here. And I'm going to look at my, what happened here? Oh, I thought something happened. I'm going to look at my, so serial, true. I'm going to look at my spending. There we go. All right, so this is my spending over time for serial. So I'm going to add labels on the ends of the lines. And it's going to be quarters. Let's see, but this is at the yearly level, so I want this to be year. But maybe it should be latest quarter. Wonder if it should be latest quarter instead. This is going to give me latest year. Okay. So this is my trend over time, which I think is okay. So label, show mark labels, and I want to do line ends. Automatic. Okay, there we go. So now we've got the marks on the ends of the lines. So this is my quarterly sales. Okay. And then let's see. Maybe make that 12. Make it regular. Okay, something like that. But this is quarterly. Hopefully that's not too confusing. So I kind of like that. And all right, and then I wonder if I could maybe combine some of these things then. So we have, if I made this just serials, okay, and then instead of looking at it by subcategory, I look at it by year and quarter. Let's do spending on color, and let's make this month. And what happened to, oh, this needs to be using the wrong field. And then this needs to be quarter. No, I want this to be month. Okay, there we go. So we can see across the years what the spending is. For all the years going across the view. Okay, I think that's okay. Let me try just this white to black color palette. It doesn't work very well. That's even worse. Excuse me, I didn't want to sneeze in your ear. Okay, so what did I do before for the heat map where where was that other heat map I created? I thought there was a heat map here, so it wasn't that one. Okay, it's not that. So the bump chart looks pretty cool. Parallel coordinates. I could have sworn I did a heat map that had a different color range where I did, I think it was this one, barcode chart. So what did I do here? Difference from the average. Okay, so heat map. Okay. But that again doesn't really tell me a whole heck of a lot. Okay. Maybe what I'll do is I'll just use a diverging color palette and break a rule. Okay. So I like that. And I like the parallel coordinates chart. I like the bump chart. This would be my KPI. But maybe for this sheet, so if I do quarter over quarter change, I could probably also put spending here. And then let's make this one difference across the view. Okay, so this one's going to look at percent difference in spending. So maybe I should just look at that. So let's put that onto Tooltip. We can take these both off of the Tooltip. So this is showing us kind of what are the, let me change my labels to be the min and the max values. But see, at a quarterly level, it wasn't the highest. So, but if I make it monthly, month, then we can see that is the highest, but at the quarterly level, it's actually not the highest change. Is that right? So 8.94% spending. So that's 15.4, 13 point, and this one was 166. Okay, it's because it's from a much lower base. Okay, so format, and on the pane, I want to add percentage. Okay, and then what I can do here is I can put a stronger, like 0 line on, something like that. Maybe make it a gray. That's okay. Maybe I should make it a color instead. All right, and then we can hide that. Okay, so I think instead of this being total spending 2020, what I think I need to do is if I'm going to make this about the quarter-over-quarter change, unless I make this years, let me try years here instead. Let's try year. Okay, but see, it's still not the highest, so this is 1974. And then what I can do here is mark label always show. So it's, well, okay, so this is better because now it matches up with my entire spending. Let's try this. Okay, so that's a bit better. Okay, any other build your unique image? Okay, right. Okay, are there any comments I need to? Okay, anyway, so again, looking at it as a percent change kind of takes out the cost of inflation and things like that. So that's why I'm not really too bothered by why I'm not looking at them like a per capita basis or anything like that. So hang on, I'm just changing the lighting here. Okay, it's getting dark out. Okay, so I like that, and let's see. So I like the KPI, the heat map. So if I did this as, okay, so let's try this. Let's add a table calculation, and we want to do percent difference from table across then down. So this one should be null. And then I wanted this to be by year, by maybe make this by quarter. Okay, but this one is also 97. Okay, let me try something here. Spending, detail. Yeah, that's not going to matter. So 54.1. Okay, let me try it this way. So I'm going to set it up here. Standard view. Let me make it a line chart. I'm just trying to get my calculations set up properly first. So this, I want to set this as table across. which then would mean it's going to be by year and month. Okay, so now I can move things around and make it automatic and entire view. And now I can see the change. So what if I make this continuous? Let's leave it. Okay. So this is really just taking my spark line and coloring it. It'd be this, yeah, so it'd kind of be the same thing as putting, let's see, where is it here? So I'm going to move this to the left because I like that. So this is the same as this, just colored. So, except for this one is at the quarterly. So this is by year. Yeah, so that'd be the same as. Yes, that's not particularly helpful, is it? So if I move that here, get rid of month and compute using table across. So that's the same view that I have now. Make it a bar. Oh, actually, this is better as a bar, isn't it? Let's make this bars. And then what I can do, let's make this discrete. Like that. And now what I can do is I can just say change greater than 0. And I'm going to color that. That should just give me 2 colors. And I want them to be maybe black for true, and then maybe I'll do maybe a reddish color for false. Okay, and I probably, so my reference line, or my 0 line now, so format 0, I'm just going to make that a solid line and make it just black. Okay, so that's definitely better. Let's label, let's see, labels. Why is it not rotating the label for me? Alignment. Mark label. Format. Oh, I want the label to turn the other direction. I think I would have to make this continuous. Let's make it continuous. And then I need to get rid of the borders, but then reduce the size. Something like that. Okay, so that gives us that kind of, I think I like that better than the line. Let me duplicate it and try it again. So let me get rid of that and make this a line, because I want to just compare them side by side. Yeah, I think I like the lines better, or the bars better. Okay, so why does that say, what did I do there? That's weird. Where did that come from? Okay, so here's our parallel coordinates. I like that. What happened to my other heat map? Ah, that's right. I just kind of stumbled into that. So let's make this quarter and month. Edit table calc. Okay, percent difference from. Move that there. And put that onto color. And make it automatic. Okay, so now we have our color change, but again, this doesn't. If I did maybe a red to black color palette, let me try that. Do I have a red to black? So I've got red, I can just pick black. Okay, that is a terrible shade of red. Use full color range, set the center to 0. Yeah, so that's not very useful. That's fine. So I like that. I like the parallel coordinates. And I also like the bump chart. Let me see. I like the bump chart. Yeah, this bump chart. Okay. Now I could just do this as a single. I could just do this as a single chart. Because if I break this down to quarters, what does it look like if I do it as quarters then? Now, what do you like better, by quarters or do you like by quarters or by years better? So let me duplicate this. I think I need to do it by year because my KPI is by year. Yeah, and then what I'm going to do here is mark label always show. So that's 2020. And then I think what I'm going to do on my, let's include a tooltip. Okay. Spending percent change. And this would be okay, let me rename that. All right. So that's serial. Now what I could do is, okay, let's make this even more interesting then. Let's create a parameter. Let's see, no, I'm going to use subcategory as a filter and pick serials. And I'm going to add that to context. Okay, so now what I could do is if I show the filter, I could allow the user to pick the ones that they want to combine. You could even combine them or, you know, whatever, but I always want the latest value to be highlighted. Okay, so let's call it latest year value. Let's see, no, I could do latest year spending. Let's put that. What is this field here? What do I have? Year over year spending. So okay, so I want this on the label shelf. Okay. So I'm going to say if latest year, then I want to bring back that value and and then if I put that on label, okay, and then I also want to put the minimum or the maximum. So okay, I'm just going to call this labels. So if max year, so I want to do 3 conditions. If it's the max year or window max sum of spending equals sum of spending, or the window min, then I want to do that. I want to do change from prior. There we go, I want to do that. And then okay, that didn't work. So why did that not work then? Labels, let me see. Ah, because I used the wrong. So if max glacier or window max, it should be changed from prior. Because I'm trying to look at the change. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Label all. Okay, there we go. Great. So default properties, number format, percentage, 1 decimal. Because this could change from product to product. So yes, here we go. So if we combine beer and cereal, this quarter is the largest. So now what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the bars that are the highest and the lowest a bit bolder. So let me duplicate this, and I'm going to say if max year, then max year, else if, then I want to have the max value, else if, then min value, and this will be my bars to color. Wow, this is taking me a while, sorry. Bars to color, so I want to put that on, let's see, if I put that on detail, and then can I edit the color? Okay, so if it's the true, I just want that to be, let's go, oops, where's my color palette? Where'd it go? So the true and the max and the true and the year, I want those to both be black. And then if they're positive, I want them to be maybe gray. Maybe I could go a bit lighter gray on that one. And then if they're negative, let's maybe look for some red colors here. That's too bright. We could go, so false min value, let's make that bright red. Let's make the rest of them maybe a lighter red. And we get something like that. So now as we change the values, the bars that are colored will change. Okay, there we go. Okay, and if I select multiple values, that all works. Okay, very good. So I think I'm almost done. So let me hide this legend. And you see my zeros behind these bars now. I think if I put on a reference line, and I want to put it on the table, set it to, no, I want it to be a constant, 0. Does that move it in front? I think it does. Let's make it black. Okay, yeah, so that's good. So edit, no label, no value. Yeah. Okay. All right. Percent changes are discrete. They show better than the line chart. What you want to do, it increase and decrease. No such thing as a continuous flow of percent changes over time. I'm not quite sure what that means. Okay, so yeah, so let me just, I think maybe I'll just go with this one chart. So let me delete the phone layout. Maybe I'll do it, I don't know, 800 by 600 to start. I'm going to I think all I need to do is just bring my one sheet in. So layout, okay, and let's put some padding in there and show the caption. Quite the iterative process today, but hopefully you've learned something. Data source, B-U-R-E-A-U. Oh, jeez. Just typing too quickly. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is choose a product. And let me just shrink this up. And I'm going to make this a multiple value drop down. And yep, I can leave it like that. And let's see, so I don't mind this layout too much. I feel like it needs to be a bit wider. But now I need to go to my KPIs and I need to make the bars ever so slightly more narrow. Okay, there we go. Okay. I really like this parallel coordinates view, but it's hard. It's pretty hard to understand. All right, so what do we have now? So I'm going to finish with some formatting. I'm going to get rid of my grid lines. I'm going to get rid of my axis rulers. Let's see, so let's format the axis. Okay. Okay, I need to go back to the sheet. I'm not totally satisfied with the colors yet. So I want to have these are going to be, I need these to be a lighter gray, so gray. And then I want my reds to stick out a bit more, so traffic light. Let's see what other color palettes are there. There should be some other ones here somewhere I can use. And then I just need a lighter red. God, it's annoying. It shouldn't be so hard to find colors. Try that. Okay, yeah, maybe something like that. Okay, so I better save at some point. Okay, and this is called, what is our topic? It is consumer. Let's see, what is the data set? Let me go back here. Bureau of Economic Analysis. And I think what I could call this one here is there's a broad category. consumption and food and beverages. Okay. And this is 1959 to 2020. Okay. And if I hit this drop down, yeah, I'm not worried about those really cutting off too much. Okay. And now I just need to put this somewhere where they know to actually, where the person, whoever's using this actually knows what to do with it. So let me just put it there. And I think I'm going to call that a day. Let me see, so I want that to be in line with that. And then let's format this and get it to 8 point. And maybe a lighter gray. I want this one to be 8 point. Lighter gray. I'm just trying to kind of make them fade into the background a bit. And let's see, this could be 8 point. That's good. Okay. Oops. Okay, something like that. All right. What was the other thing I was thinking? So we've got that. And, oh, I just need to fix the tooltips now. So let me go back here. And what's in my tooltip? So I need to get rid of bars to color. Should not be in the tooltip. I'm going to tell my labels to match the mark color. And I'm going to make them Tableau medium. Okay, and maybe 10 point. Let me see what it looks like as 10 point. How does that look? Yeah, that's fine. And then tooltips. So year, spending, labels does not need to be on there. Okay. This would be okay, so I can make this maybe 14 point. Okay, I think I'll call that a day. So are there any last questions here? Okay. All right. I think that's it. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Hopefully you found it useful, and I will be back next week with another edition of Watch Me Viz. Have a great day.